the NBA's Fantasy Fast Break. I'm John Fernandez, and if you came here looking for laughter, NBA news, and fantasy analysis, you've come to the right place. So don't forget, if you enjoy this content, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Alright, so without further ado, let's get right to it. And lately we've been getting a lot of news from the Lakers, and this time is not the exception, because Anthony Davis had to leave a game after 7 minutes because he was evacuating out front and out back quite a bit. Now this time around we couldn't get the footage of what happened to Davis in that game I mentioned earlier. But we do have an animated depiction of what happened both to him and the training staff that was trying to assist him in the locker room. So let's take a look and see what happened.
Why didn't anybody tell me? Oh my God, my insides are on fire! No, please, no more.
Dad, I'm scared.
Get the phone. Call 911.
Having some real fun right now.
Again, they have been there. Might be a little stir-crazy.
Now, in extremely shocking news, apparently out of frustration with the referees for not calling any fouls for him, James Harden decided to retire from the NBA in the middle of a game. Now notice how he loses the ball and then all of a sudden, what happened? Now what I really love about this video is Joe Harris's reaction in the back. He's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" Now there's been talk of concern as to how the change in the rule would affect Harden. But really, he's only attempting 3 less free throws per game. So I think the problem lies more on the fact that he's taking 3 less field goals per game, and he's averaging 39% on his shots. And perhaps many expected an offensive explosion now that Kyrie was out of the picture, but really he's still producing as a first round type of guy, so I don't think that there's much to complain about here. And this seems to be the year of fights, and we're going to talk about one that, although not related directly to fantasy, does have to do with basketball. And I'm referring to Scottie Pippen's new book that was just released, in which he throws shade at MJ, saying that he was never a leader, saying that he released the Last Dance documentary as a way for LeBron not to overshadow his legacy, among many other things. And look, it's not because that figure is up there, but everyone knows that Pippen is butthurt because Jordan didn't praise him as much as he wanted on The Last Dance. And it's Scottie Pippen who in that same documentary we see quit on his team in the middle of a playoff game after Phil Jackson designed the final play of the game for Tony Kukoc instead of him.
Patrick Ewing's game-tying basket with less than 2 seconds left in the game. The Bulls called a timeout and designed a play for Tony Kukoc. Scottie Pippen refused to go back in. Instead, he went to the end of the bench, necessitating a second timeout. Pippen and Jackson got into a cussing match, but Scottie still refused to budge.
So yeah, I think this is more Pippen's last attempt at fame and maybe some money, because as everyone knows, he's also broke. Now, one altercation that did get physical was the one between Nikola Jokic and Markieff Morris, where Morris took a foul and hit Jokic with an elbow, and Jokic in turn responded with shoving him on the back, sending him right to the ground.
Let's have 5 on 4, and Jokic, oh no! No! Keep the players on the bench. Not sure what set Jokic off. Oh, so Morris banging Jokic first. They'll take. Of course, you know that the Nuggets have history with the Morris brothers, particularly Marcus Morris.
Now this quickly escalated because then Jimmy Butler was inviting Jokic to go out to the parking lot and fight. Now what Butler didn't know is that Jokic has 2 brothers who were on the stands, and they're nearly 7 feet tall. One of them is an ex-boxer, and while they were attending Morris, they were like,
He dies.
Then images came out of several Heat players waiting for Jokic out in the tunnel that leads to the locker room, trying to confront him, and security had to get involved. Now, things didn't stop there either, because they then took the fight to Twitter, with the other Morris brother calling Jokic out on Twitter, and Jokic's brothers creating an account just to respond to him, saying that he should keep his mouth shut and watch out, because if he wants trouble, they'll be waiting for him. And the final result of all of this, Morris gets a $50K fine, Butler gets a $30K, and then Jokic gets suspended for 1 game. Now clearly this doesn't affect the fantasy value of any of these players. Morris was irrelevant anyway. Jokic will only end up missing 1 game, so it's all good. And even in the real world, analysts have come out and expressed themselves about this. Shaq made some comments, so did Barkley, and they agree with what Jokic did. They see no problem with it, and we know the dirty nature of the Morris's brothers, so, this is business as usual. I do want to make a call to Dana White, Vince McMahon, Don King, the president of AEW, whoever the hell he is, someone watching this video, and if they're not watching this video, make sure that you get it to them, because I would pay a lot of money to see this event. I mean, pay-per-view, big time, make it happen somehow, some way. We're ready, we want it.
I must break you.
Now, someone who did break was Michael Porter Jr., who after missing a wide open layup was reported to be out with a bad back for the foreseeable future. Now, I've never heard anyone use those words to refer to a timeline for a player who was hurt. So this is really, really concerning, particularly when we consider that he was having a lot of issues as far as his production went, couldn't get his game going, and he has a history of back problems that actually led to his demise in the draft board from one of the top 3 prospects to ending up being drafted as number 14. Now, back problems, they tend to be recurrent, they tend to be pretty serious, and so if you have him on your team, I'm really sorry, because I don't think that anyone's going to want to touch that. It's pretty radioactive right now. Now, the main beneficiaries from this, Aaron Gordon, I think he's going to have a lot of more opportunities now, both offensively as a creator and as a scorer. And Will Barton, I think overall now becomes a very real alternative season long. Well, that's all for today's edition of the NBA's Fantasy Fast Break. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next week with more eventualities of the NBA. Take care.